Hello, hello, hello! Greetings, salutations, konnichiwa, and every other form of green across this vast, marvelous multiverse. I am Matsu Quinox. This is Horace, and welcome back once again, my dear scholars, to the study. Hello there, hello there, hello there. Hello there, Julian20, Heidi Ho. Hello there, Darth Parmua. Sorry, I can't do your thing. I'm just gonna call you Darth. Darth. Hello there, Darth. Congratulations on getting first. Congratulations. Hello there, Firefly. Evening to you as well. Hello, 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 all you marvelous, wonderful scholars. Wherever you are, whenever you are, across this vast, marvelous, omniverse. How are you all doing, my dear scholars? Are you doing well? Mm? I hope you're doing okay. Let me tell you about my day. My day has been crazy. Hmm I hope your days aren't too crazy today. Union 20 is so good I can hardly believe it. You know, I can't read sarcasm behind this space, but hopefully you are telling the truth. Darth, I only got first because I was on Sophia's Discord and saw the black dot by your schedule on her page. Oh, okay, okay. Union 20, yes indeed. Oh, I didn't, oh really? I didn't know I was on the schedule. Mm. Mm-hmm. Well, that's good to know. That's good to know. Um, my day, it's been very tense today. I don't know why. Horace was with me, and he can second it that I was very, very, very tense all day. Yeah, it was kind of a very it was a rough time. It was a rough time. Julian 20 hugs. Oh, thank you, Julian 20. It was just I don't know why. About midday, what days count here in the study? I mean, we don't have time here. But about midday, it was just, I was in my worst mood possible. I, I have no idea why it was. I was just really, really tense, really, really upset. I just was in a terrible mood. Darth gives you 6, 7 hugs and head pass. Of course you would do that, Darth. I'll take the hugs and the head pats, but not the number. Thank you very much. Thank you, but I do not need that number. Um, but yeah, that was my day. I mean, at no point was I not going to stream today. That was always a given. But I was really, really tense. And I think actually streaming today is something that I am looking forward to because it gives me something to basically kind of calm myself down. I hope. But yes, oh yes, speaking of streaming today. Okay, let's see. Tonight, my dear, marvelous, wonderful scholars. A little bit of shatter there. Um, we are continuing our reading of what are we reading? Oh yeah, looking at our little picture there in the corner. We are reading The Moon Pool by A. Merritt. Um, for those of you who have come in late, uh, the story so far. What's the name of the character again? Goodwin. Goodwin. Goodwin's the name of the character. Um, excuse me. One Dr. Goodwin, an anthropologist by trade, and his what has been traveling through Southeast Asia when he comes across an old friend of his. Said friend has lost his entire company to strange powers belonging to a location called the Moon Pool inside the ruins of a ancient island. Um, Said friend vanishes. Our hero, Dr. Goodwin, decides to set out to try and rescue as many as they can. Along the way, he picks up a motley crew, as it were. He picks up gosh, oh my goodness gracious, I cannot remember names from this story. Um, I do not think the captain goes with him. But along the way, he picks up Larry O'Keefe, a Irish American, an Irish American from in the Royal Air Corps, who's interested in helping out our hero with finding out the mysteries of the stories, as well as Olaf Holgersen, a Norwegian captain who has lost both his wife and his child to the power of the moon pool. They've actually gotten to the temple and managed to open up the door leading to the pool, only for Helderiksen to discover the dead body of his dear little daughter. It was really sad. Um, in the process, they stumbled onto another character, a Dr. Marakinov, a Russian who apparently was also interested in the moon pool and rescued them from the glowing thing. I can't remember the name they used for it. But that's where we left off. Things have gotten really, really weird and spooky. Darth, I was about to say I'm here. The odds of this being calm are I gotta say it, 6.7 to 6.9%. Darth. Darth, you're gonna give me a headache. So then, my dear scholars, are you ready to journey back and discover the secrets of the moon pool? If you can't tell, I'm also being hit by allergies for some reason. Oh my goodness gracious. So I may do a little sneezing and coughing. I will take the silence as a yes. Alright then, my dear scholars. Sit back, relax, have a hot or cold beverage of your liking. Dim the lights if you wish, and let us continue our reading of The Moon Pool by A. Merritt. Darth, I'm over the moon for this book. Oh. Darth, since there's no more lists being made, I can't put you on a list. But I will make a mental note of that horrendous pun. Excuse me. Chapter 11. The Flame-Tipped Shadows. Marakinov nodded his head solemnly as Olaf finished. Duh, he said. That which comes from here took them both, the woman and the child. Duh! They came clasped within it, and the stone shut upon them. But why it left the child behind, I do not understand. How do you know that? I cried in amazement. Because I saw it, answered Markinov simply. Not only did I see it, but hardly had I time to make escape through the entrance before it passed whirling and murmuring, and its bell sounds all joyous da. It was what you call the squeak close that. Wait a moment, I said, stilling Larry with a gesture. Do I understand you to say that you were within this place? Markinov actually beamed upon me. Duh, Dr. Goodwin, he said. I went in when that which comes from it went out. Darth, Matsu, how long have been reading this? Give me some credit for holding that pun in until now. Oh, all right, Darth. I'll give you a little bit of credit. I'm not a teacher. That is our dear Sophia's job, but I will give you some credit. Excuse me. I gaped at him, stricken dumb. Into Larry's bellicose attitude crept a suggestion of grudging respect. Olaf, trembling, watched silently. Dr. Goodwin and my impetuous young friend, you, went on Markinoff after a moment's silence, and I wondered vaguely why he did not include Huldrickson in his address. It is time that we have an understanding. I have a proposal to make to you also. It is this. We are what you call a bad boat, and all of us are in it, da. We need all hands. Is it not so? Let us put together our knowledge, and our brains, and resources. And even a punch of a mule is a resource. He looked wickedly at O'Keefe, and pull our boat into quiet waters again. Darth, oh, I saw another video of Pope Leo doing the meme number gesture. Almost died laughing. Yeah, I've actually seen that video. I've seen that video before. It is, yeah. All very well, Marakinoff, interjected Larry. But I don't feel very safe in any boat with somebody capable of shooting me through the back. Marakinoff waved a yeah, deprecatory hand. It is natural that, he said, logical da. Here is a very great secret, perhaps many secrets in my country invaluable. He paused, shaken by some overpowering emotion. The veins in his forehead grew congested. The cold eyes blazed, and the guttural voice harshened. Harshened. Ah, can't say that word. Harshened. Very strange word. I do apologize, and I do not explain, rasped Marakinoff. But I will tell you, da! Here in my country, sweating blood in an experiment to liberate the world. You have to remember, this is 1919. Darth. Oh, this was a different video. In this newer video, he does the gesture unprompted and on his own accord. Ha! Interesting. So this is during this is posted in 1919. So this is during the time period when the Russian Revolution and the Communist government was just coming into being in what would become the USSR, Russia. So what Marakinov is talking about is a little bit of a historical reference for you in what he's speaking of. And here are the other nations, ringing us like wolves and waiting to spring at our throat. Spring at our throats at the least sign of weakness. And here are you, Lieutenant O'Keefe of the English Wolves, and you, Dr. Goodwin of the Yankee Pack. And here in this place may be that which will enable my country to win its war for the worker. Oh, so that's why he wants it. What are the lives of you two and the sailor to that? Less than the flies I crush with my hand, less than midges in the sunbeam. Oh, so we have a good old-fashioned communist villain in this story. Oh dear. Oh dear. One of these tales. He suddenly gripped himself. I'm not sure I trust Marakinoff, my dear scholars. Unfortunately, I'm feeling that he is going to be, oh my goodness, this is a long chapter. I feel this is going to be one of those characters. He suddenly gripped himself. But that is not now the important thing, he resumed almost coldly. Not that, nor my shooting. Let us squarely the situation face. My proposal is so that we join interests and what you call see it through together. Find our way through this place and those secrets learn of which I have spoken, if we can. And when that is done, we will go our ways, to his own land each, to make use of them for our lands, as each of us may. One Chuel, I said no. Hello there, Chuan Chuel, welcome. You're just in time. We are continuing the moon pool. And Markinoff is doing in best 1919 early Red Scare manner the big villain speech. Well, villainous speech. That's something that's often forgotten that there was in 1919. Oh, thank you for the hydrate, Julie Jolly. Welcome. Glad to have you here. Have a seat. Enjoy yourself. It's often forgotten that, very often in your plane of the universe, you can remember in at least in certain countries that there was a Red Scare in the 1950s. There was actually a Red Scare also in the 1910s when the revolution first kicked off. So in these early years, there were actually quite a few communist Russian style villains showing up in Pulp Fiction because there was that fear of what had happened. A bit silly, honestly, in some respects. Maybe not. I don't know. Hard to say. Where was I? Oh, yeah. Not that nor my shooting. Let us squarely the situation face. My proposal is so that we join interests and what you call see it through together. Find our way through this place and those secrets learn of which I have spoken if we can. And when that is done, we will go our ways, to his own land each, to make use of them for our lands as each of us may. On my part, I offer my knowledge, and it is very valuable, Dr. Goodwin, and my training. I don't know why they keep making Russians deep voiced. Why don't they just, you know, normal light voices? I don't know. You and Lieutenant O'Keefe do the same, and this man Olaf what he can of his strength, for I do not think his usefulness lies in his brains, no. In effect, Dr. Goodwin, broke in Larry as I hesitated, the professor's proposal is this. He wants to know what's going on here, but he begins to realize it's no one man's job, and besides, we have the drop on him. We're 3 to his 1. And we have all his hardware and cutlery. But also, we can do better with him than without him, just as he could do better with us than without us. It's an even break, for a while. But once he gets that information he's looking for, then look out. You and Olaf and I are the wolves and the flies and the midges again. And the strafing will be about due. Nevertheless, with 3 to 1 against him, if he can get away with it, he deserves to. I'm for taking him up. I'm for taking him up. If you are. There was almost a twinkle in Markinoff's eyes. It is not just as I would have put it, perhaps, he said, but in its skeleton he has right. Nor will I turn my head against you while we are still in danger here. I pledge you my honor on this. Larry laughed. All right, Professor, he grinned. I believe you mean every word you say. Nevertheless, I'll just keep the guns. Markinoff bowed, imperturbably. And now, he said, I will tell you what I know. I found the secret of the door mechanism even as you did, Dr. Goodwin. But my carelessness My condensers were broken, and I was forced to wait while I sent for others. And the waiting might be for months. I took certain precautions, and on the first night of this full moon I hid myself within the vault of Chao Talur. An involuntary thrill of admiration for the man went through me at the manifest heroism of this leap in the dark. I could see it reflected in Larry's face. How is that heroic? I hid in the vault, continued Markinov, and I saw that which comes from here come out. I waited long hours. At last, when the moon was low, it returned, ecstatically, with a man, a native, in its embrace enfolded. It passed through the door, and soon then the moon became low, and the door closed. It was me again. The next night, more confidence was mine, yes. And after that which comes had gone, I looked through its open door. I said it will not return for 3 hours, while while it is away. Why shall I not into its home go through the door it has left open? So I went, even to here. I looked at the pillars of light, and I tasted the liquid of the pool on which they fell. That liquid, Dr. Goodwin, is not water, and it is not any fluid known on earth. He handed me a small vial, its neck held in a long thong. Get it out of your system, my dear scholars. It's not that kind of thong. That's it. Go on. I'm giving you a chance. Music. Yulian 20. Heh. Yeah, it's funny, it's funny, it's funny. Yeah. Take this, he said, and see. Wonderingly, I took the bottle, dipped it down into the pool. The liquid was extraordinarily light, seemed in fact to give the vial buoyancy. I held it to the light. It was styrated, streaked as though little living, pulsating veins ran through it. And its blueness, even in the vial, held an intensity of luminescence. Oh! Oh! We gotta redeem. Out of context reading. Okay. Give me 1 second, I'll get a book then. Yep, I'm okay. Sorry, I'm grabbing a book for your out of context reading, Julian 20. Let's see, let's see, let's see. Okay. For your out of context reading, Julian 20, here we go. For a girl, yes. Girls are interesting, Mike. They can reach conclusions with even less data than you can. Shall we drop subject and consider jokes? There you are, Julian 20. There's your out of context reading. I hope you enjoyed it. 20. Thank you. All right. No problem. Sorry, I had to go and pick a book from the shelf. Most of the books I have near me are kind of inaccessible. Okay, where was I? It was styrated, streaked, as though little living, pulsating veins ran through it. And its blueness, even in the vial, held an intensity of lum- luminosity. Radioactive, said Mara Kinoff. Some liquid that is intensely radioactive. But what it is, I know not at all. Upon the living skin, it acts like radium raised to the nth power. And with an element most mysterious added, the solution with which I treated him. He pointed to Huldrickson. Darth, Matsu may or may not want to kill me in a second. Oh my goodness gracious, Darth, what are you doing? I'm dreading it now. Um, unfortunately, Darth, I forgot to shut that off. I will, I will, I will do save that redeem, Darth. I'm actually out of bugs. The bugs I have actually are no good anymore, so I had to throw them out. But remind me, Darth, because I owe you that redeem. I'm going to be getting in some new bugs, I promise, and we'll be starting that redeem again. So Darth, remind me. Next stream when you're here, we'll do it. Alien 20 prehistoric. Um context port context please, Alien 20. Alien 20, we will all remind you. Thank you, cause yeah, I owe Darth that. I owe Darth that. Um, Darth, fair enough. While I'm a Sith, I do compromise sometimes. Yeah, I just don't have the bugs. I have to still order them. I forgot to order some more, so I will definitely do it for you then, Darth. Where was I? Oh yeah, the radioactive talk. The solution with which I treated him. He pointed to Haldrickson. I had prepared before I came here from certain information I had. It is largely salts of radium, and is Space's Loeb's formula for the neutralization of radium in X-ray burns. Taking this man at once, before the degeneration has become really active, I could negative it, but after 2 hours I could have done nothing. He paused a moment. Next, oh, we're having a. My goodness gracious, he's doing a whole little speech about what he found. Oh my goodness. Should have known, he's a scientist. Joey Jelly, you remind me of someone impersonating Henry Kissinger. I, oh my goodness gracious. Um, yeah, it does sound a little bit like him. It does sound a little bit like Kissinger. Oh my goodness, I didn't expect to do that. Oh no. Well, anyway, if it helps, just imagine. No, don't imagine Kissinger in the role because it's not Kissinger. But yes, thank you, Julie Jelly. Where was I? Oh yes. Where was I? Where was I? Next, I studied the new. I gotta get back in the accent. Oh no. I gotta get back into the Russian accent somehow. I'm smiling too much. It's hard to talk. Okay, I gotta get. Darth, oh, a rare thing happened last night. What happened, Darth? Do tell us. Do tell us what happened. Chewy Jelly, I think I broke Matsu. You might have, Chewy Jelly. I need to stop smiling. It's really hard to do these voices when you're smiling because I need to move my oh gosh, if I say it it's gonna sound terrible. I need to move my lips in a certain way to get the Russian accent and it's just not working when I'm smiling so hard. Oh, let me try. Ah, I gotta next. Stop smiling. Stop it. Please stop smiling. Oh, my muscles, my face muscles. Next. Oh. Mm. Darth, I managed to get 6 to 7 hours of sleep last night. I went to sleep at 12:06 a.m. and woke up at 6. I know the joke you put in there. I can't stop it. Next, I studied the nature of these luminous walls. Okay, I got it back. I concluded that whoever had made them knew the secret of the Almighty's manufacture of light from the ether itself. Colossal! Da! Again, ether disproven. In your universe, at least. Julian 20, you darn kids. What the substance of these. Darth, I meant 607. Ah, there's the other side of the joke. What the substance of these blocks confines in atomic, how would you say, atomic manipulation, a conscious arrangement of electrons, light emitting, and perhaps indefinitely so. These blocks are lamps in which oil and wick are electrons drawing light waves from ether itself. A Prometheus indeed, this discoverer. I looked at my watch and that little guardian warned me that it was time to go. I went. That which comes forth returned, this time empty-handed. Yeah. And the next night I did the same thing. Engrossed in research, I let the moments go by to the danger point, and scarcely was I replaced within the vault when the shining thing raced over the walls, and in its grip the woman and child. Then you came, and that is all. And now what is it you know? So, it does beg the question, why didn't any of the other characters think, to wait until the thing left before going into the vault? Although I suppose they were too shocked to actually think that. Excuse me again. Very briefly, I went over my story. His eyes gleamed now and then, but he did not interrupt me. A great secret, a colossal secret, he muttered when I had ended. We could not leave it hidden. The first thing to do is try the door, said Larry matter of fact. There is no use, my young friend, assured Markinoff mildly. Nevertheless, we'll try, said Larry. We retraced our way through the winding tunnel to the end, but soon even O'Keefe saw that any idea of moving the slab from within was hopeless. We returned to the chamber of the pool. The pillars of light were fainter, and we knew that the moon was sinking. On the world outside before long dawn would be breaking. I began to feel thirst. and the blue semblance of water within the silvery rim seemed to glint mockingly as my eyes rested on it. Duh! It was Marakinov reading my thoughts uncannily. Duh! We will be thirsty, and it will be a very bad for him of us who loses control and drinks of that, my friend. Duh! Larry threw back his shoulders as though shaking a burden from them. This place would give an angel of joy the willies, he said. I suggest we look around and find something that will take us somewhere. You can bet the people that built it had more ways of getting in than that once a month family entrance. Doc, you and Olaf take the left wall. The professor and I will take the right. He loosened one of his automatics with a suggestive movement. After you, Professor. He bowed politely to the Russian. We parted and set forth. I might only be able to do 2 chapters today. The chamber widened out from the portal in what seemed to be the arc of an immense circle. The shining walls held a perceptible curve, and from this curvature I estimated that the roof was fully 300 feet above us. The floor was of smooth mosaic fitted blocks of a faintly yellow tinge. They were not light emitting like the blocks that formed the walls. The radiance from these latter, I noted, had the particular quality of thickening a few yards from its source, and it was this that produced the effect of misty veiled distances. As we walked, the 7 columns of rays streaming down from the crystalline globes high above us waned steadily. The glow within the chamber lost its prismatic shimmer and became an even gray tone, somewhat like moonlight in a thin cloud. Now before us, out from the wall, jutted a low terrace. It was all of pearly rose-colored stone, slender, graceful pillars of the same hue. The face of the terrace was about 10 feet high, and all over it ran a bas relief of what looked like short trailing vines, surmounted by 5 stalks, on the tip of each of which was a flower. We passed along the terrace. It turned in an abrupt curve. I heard a hail, and there, 50 feet away at the curving end of the wall, identical was that where we stood, were Larry and Marakinov. Obviously, the left side of the chamber was a duplicate of that which we had explored. We joined. In front of us, the column barriers ran back 100 feet, forming an alcove. The end of this alcove was another wall of the same rose stone, but upon it the design of vines was much heavier. We took a step forward. There was a gasp of awe from the Norseman, a guttural exclamation from Marakinov. For on, or rather within, the wall before us, a great oval began to glow, waxed almost to a flame, and then shone steadily out as though from behind it a light was streaming through the stone itself. And within the roseate oval, 2 flame-tipped shadows appeared, stood for a moment, and then seemed to float out upon its surface. The shadows wavered. The tips of flame that nimbushed them with flickering points of vermilion pulsed outward, drew back, darted forth again, and once more withdrew themselves. And as they did so, the shadows thickened. And suddenly, there before us stood 2 figures. One was a girl. A girl whose great eyes were golden as the fabled lilies of Kuan Yun, that were born of the kiss of the sun upon the amber goddess the demons of Lao Tzu's carved for him. Okay, that's confusing. Whose softly curved lips were red as the royal coral, and whose golden brown hair reached to her knees. I still don't get the that were born of the kiss of the sun upon the amber goddess the demons of Lao Tzu. Lao Tzu. Lao Tzu. Not Lao Tzu. Lao Tzu. Carved for him. I don't. Lao Tzu. Oh my goodness. And the second was a gigantic frog. A woman frog. Okay. Head helmeted with carapace of shell upon which a fillet of brilliant yellow jewels shone. Enormous round eyes of blue circled with a broad iris of green. Monstrous body of banded orange and white girdled with strand upon strand of the flashing yellow gems. 6 feet high if an inch, and with one webbed paw of its short, powerfully muscled forelegs rested upon the white shoulder of the golden-eyed girl. Moments must have passed, and we stood in stark amazement, gazing at that incredible apparition. The two figures, although as real as any of those who stood beside me, unphantom-like as it is possible to be, had a distinct suggestion of projection. Excuse me. They were there before us, golden-eyed girl and grotesque frog woman, complete in every line and curve, and still it was as though their bodies passed back through distances, as though to try to express the well nigh inexpressible. The two shapes we were looking upon were the end of an infinite number stretching in fine linked chain far away, of which the eyes saw only the nearest, while in the brain some faculty higher than sight recognized and registered the unseen others. The gigantic eyes of the frog woman took us all in, unwinkingly. Large glints of phosphorescence shone out within the metallic green of the outer iris ring. She stood upright, her great legs bowed, the monstrous slit of a mouth slightly open, revealing a row of white teeth sharp and pointed lances. Frogs do not have teeth. What is this? The paw resting on the girl's shoulder, half covering its silken surface, and from its 5 webbed digits, long yellow claws of polished horn glistened against the delicate textures of the flesh. Excuse me. But if the frog woman regarded us all, not so did the maiden of the rosy wall. Her eyes were fastened upon Larry, drinking him in with extraordinary intentness. She was tall, far over the average of women, almost as tall indeed as O'Keefe himself, not more than 20 years old, if that, I thought. Abruptly she leaned forward, the golden eyes softened and grew tender, the red lips moved as though she were speaking. Larry took a quick step, and his face was that of one who after countless births, comes at last upon the twin soul lost him for ages. The frog woman turned her eyes upon the girl. Her huge lips moved, and I knew she was talking. The girl held out a warning hand to O'Keefe, and then raised it, resting each finger upon one of the 5 flowers of the carved vine close beside her. Once, twice, 3 times she pressed upon the flower centers, and I know that her hand was curiously long and slender, the digits like those wonderful tapering ones the painters we call the primitive gave to their virgins. Um, so what they mean by the primitive, there was a movement, of course, I'm sure you all know, of painting style, which at the time the story was written was rejecting the more classical looks of art. This is where your Picassos, your Kandinskis, your who else? Gosh, I'm forgetting my art history here. Um, your Monets, your things were very much coming into vogue, and one of the movements was called primitives movement, which borrowed a lot of its influence, if I recall, from African and tropical style art. That's what he's referring to in terms of painters. Um, In fact, very famously, back in the 1800s, the these paint styles were actually banned from museums, and they actually put on their own art show, which basically showed how popular they would become in the future. Excuse me again. 3 times she pressed the flowers, then looked intently at Larry once more. A slow, sweet smile curved the crimson lips. She stretched both hands out toward him again, eagerly. A burning blush rose swiftly over white breasts and flower-like face. Like the clicking out of a cinematograph, the pulsing oval faded, and Golden Eye Girl and Frog Woman were gone. And thus it was that Latkla, the handmaiden of the Silent Ones, and Larry O'Keefe first looked into each other's hearts. Larry stood rapt, gazing at the stone. Illideth, I heard him whisper. Illideth of the lips like the red, red rowan, and the golden brown hair. Clearly of the Ranade, said Markinoff. A development of the fossil Labolondont. You saw her teeth, though. Ranade, yes, I answered. Ranade, by the way, is, I believe, the scientific term for frogs. But from the Stegiocephalia of the order Ecudata. Never such a complete indignation as was in O'Keefe's voice as he interrupted. What do you mean, fossils and stego whatever it is? He asked. She was a girl, a wonder girl, a real girl, an Irish, or I'm not an O'Keefe. We were talking about the frog woman, Larry, I said conciliantly. His eyes were wild as he regarded us. Say, he said, if you two had been in the Garden of Eden when Eve took the apple, you wouldn't have had time to give her a look for counting the scales on the snake. He strode swiftly over to the wall. We followed Larry, paused, stretched. We followed, yeah. Larry paused, stretched his hand up to the flowers on which the tapering fingers of the golden-eyed girl had rested. It was here she put up her hand, he murmured. He pressed, caressing the carved calyxes, once, twice, a third time even as she had. And silently and softly the wall began to split. On each side a great stone pivoted slowly, and before us a portal stood, opening into a narrow corridor glowing with the same rosy luster that had gleamed around the flame-tipped shadows. Have your gun ready, Olaf, said Larry. We follow Golden Eyes, he said to me. Follow? I echoed stupidly. Follow, he said. She came to show us the way. Follow? I'd follow her through 1,000 hells. And with Olaf at one end, O'Keefe at the other, both of them with automatics in hand, and Markinoff and I between them, we stepped over the threshold. At our right, a few feet away, the passage ended abruptly in a square of polished stone, from which came faint rose radiance. The roof of the place was less than 2 feet over O'Keefe's head. A yard at left of us lifted a 4-foot-high, gently curved barricade, stretching from wall to wall, and beyond it was blackness. An utter and appalling blackness that seemed to gather itself from infinite depths. The rose glow in which we stood was cut off by the blackness as though it had substance. It shimmered out to meet it, and was checked as though by a blow. Indeed, so strong was the suggestion of sinister, straying force within the rayless opacity that I shrank back, and Markinov with me. Not so O'Keefe. Olaf beside him, he strode to the wall and peered over. He beckoned us. Flash your pocket light down there, he said to me, pointing into the thick darkness below us. The little electric circle quivered down as though afraid, and came to rest upon a surface that resembled nothing so much as clear black ice. I ran the light across, here and there. The floor of the corridor was of a substance so smooth, so polished that no man could have walked upon it. It sloped downward at a slowly increasing angle. We'd have to have non-skid chains and brakes on our feet to tackle that, mused Larry. Excuse me. Abstractly, he ran his hand over the edge on which he was leaning. Suddenly they hesitated, and then gripped tightly. That's a queer one, he exclaimed. His right palm was resting upon a rounded protuberance, on the side of which were three small circular indentations. A queer one, he repeated, and pressed his fingers upon the circles. There was a sharp click. The slabs that had opened to let us through swung swiftly together. A curiously rapid vibration thrilled through us. A wind arose and passed over our heads. A wind that grew and grew until it became a whistling shriek, then a roar, then a mighty humming, to which every atom in our bodies pulsated in rhythm painful almost to disintegration. The rosy wall dwindled in a flash to a point of light and disappeared. Wrapped in the clinging, impenetrable blackness, we were racing, dropping, hurling at a frightful speed. Where? And even that awful humming of the rushing wind, and the lightning cleaving in the intangible dark, so it came to me oddly, must the newly released soul race through the sheer blackness of outer space up to that throne of justice where God sits high above all suns. I felt Markinov creep close to me, grip my nerve, and flash my pocket light. Saw Larry standing, peering ahead, and Huldriksen one strong arm around his shoulders, bracing him. And then the speed began to slacken. Excuse me again. Millions of miles, it seemed. Below the sound of the unearthly hurricane, I heard Larry's voice, thin and ghost-like, beneath its clamor. Got it! Shrilled the voice. Got it! Don't worry! The wind died down to the roar, passed back into the whistling shriek, and diminished to a steady whisper. In the comparative quiet, O'Keefe's tones now came in normal volume. Some little shoot-the-choots, what? He shouted. Say, if they had this at Coney Island or the Crystal Palace, press all the way in these holes, and she goes top high. Diminish pressure, diminish speed. The curve of this dashboard here sends the wind shooting up over our heads, like a windshield. What's behind you? I flashed the light back. The mechanism on which we were ended in another wall, exactly similar to that one which O'Keefe crouched. Well, we can't fall out anyway, he laughed. Wish to hell I knew where the brakes were. Look out! We dropped dizzily down an abrupt, seamlessly endless slope. Fell. Fell as into an abyss. Then shot abruptly out of the blackness into a throbbing green radiance. O'Keefe's fingers must have pressed down upon the controls, for we leaped forward almost with the speed of light. Darth, press all the way in these holes, giggles to myself and moves on. Darth? Come on, Darth. I caught a glimpse of luminous immensities on the verge of which we flew, of depths inconceivable and flitting through the incredible spaces. Gigantic shadows as of the wings of Israfel, which are so wide, say the Arabs, the world can cower under them like a nestling. And then, again, the living blackness. What was that? This from Larry, with the nearest approach to awe that he had yet shown. Throw them, croaked the voice of Olaf. Yet, this from Marakinov. What is space? Have you considered, Dr. Goodwin? He went on after a pause. A curious thing. We know, or at least, is it not that 9 out of 10 astronomers believe the moon was hurled out of the same region we now call the Pacific, when the earth was let like molasses, almost molten, I should say. So anyone here, anyone here ever seen a show called MST3K, Mystery Science Theater 3000? Has anyone watched it or know of it? Jerry Jelly. Does anyone remember the episode of the movie The Giant Spider Invasion? The one set in, I believe it's called Wisconsin, with a giant spider in it, or several giant spiders. Chili Packers! Packers won the Super Bowl! Packers! I remember that. So in that movie, um, the female scientist who comes to the town to investigate. Well, she didn't come to town. She was there in town. She's from town. She mentions that the sheriff believes in this very theory. The idea of the moon coming out of the Pacific Ocean. I was just reminded of that when I saw this being mentioned in the story. Um, as we know now, the most current theory is actually somewhat close, which was that the Earth was struck by another planet when it was forming, and the moon broke off the Earth. Well, pieces of the Earth broke off and formed in the moon. But the fact that this story has a link to an episode of MST3K blows my mind. Of course. And now I'm gonna have to watch that episode, aren't I? Almost molten, I should say. And is it not curious that which comes from the moon chamber needs the moon rays to bring it forth, is it not? And is it not significant again that the stone depends upon the moon for operating? Da! And at last, such a space in Mother Earth as we just glimpsed, how else could it have been torn but by some gigantic birth, like that of the moon? Da! I do not put forward these as statements of fact, no, but as suggestions. I started. There was so much that this might explain. An unknown element that responded to the moon rays and opening the moon door. The blue moon with its weird radioactivity. The blue pool with its weird radioactivity. Julian 20, and it is what it is. Julian 20, what's the it is? And it is what? I need some context. and the force within it that reacted to the same light stream. It was not inconceivable that a film had drawn over the world wound, a film of earth flesh which drew itself over that colossal abyss after our planet had borne its satellite. That world wound did not close when her shining child sprang forth. It was possible, and all that we know of Earth depth is 4 miles of her 8,000. What is there at the heart of Earth? What of that radiant unknown element upon the moon Mount Tycho? What of that element unknown to us as part of Earth, which is seen only in the corona of the sun at eclipses that we call coronium? Is coronium a real thing? Yet the Earth is child of the sun as the moon is Earth's daughter. And what of that other unknown element we find glowing green in the far-flung nebula? Green as that we had just passed through, and that which we call nebulum. Okay, nebulum they definitely made up. Yet the sun is child of the nebula, as the earth is child of the sun, and the moon is child of the earth. Try to say that 5 times fast. And what miracles are there in coronium and nebulum, which, as the child of nebula and sun, we inherit? Yes, and in Tycho's enigma, what came from earth heart? We were flashing down to earth heart, and what miracles were hidden there? Oh, good, the next chapters are short. Chapter 12. The End of the Journey. Say, Doc, it was Larry's voice flung back at me. I was thinking about that frog. I think it was her pet. Damn me if I see any difference between a frog and a snake, and one of the nicest women I ever knew had 2 pet pythons that followed her around like kittens. Aww. Not such a devilish lot of choice between a frog and a snake. Except on the side of the frog. What? Anyway, any pet that girl wants is hers. I don't care if it's a leaping 12-foot toed lobster or a whale bodied scorpion. Get me? By which I knew that our remarks upon the frog woman were still bothering O'Keefe. He thinks of foolish nothings like the foolish sailor, grunted Markinoff, acid contempt in his words. What are women to this? He swept out a hand, and as though at a signal, the car poised itself for an instant, then dipped, literally dipped down into sheer space, skimmed forward in what was clearly curved flight, rose as upon a sweeping upgrade, and then began swiftly to slacken its fearful speed. It sounds like they're on a roller coaster. Far ahead, a point of light showed, grew steadily. We were within it, and softly all movement ceased. How acute had been the strain of our journey, I did not realize until I tried to stand, and sank back, leg muscles too shaky to bear my weight. The car rested in a slit in the center of a smooth-walled chamber, perhaps 20 feet square. The wall facing us was pierced by a low doorway through which we could see a flight of steps leading downward. The light streamed through a small opening, the base of which was twice a tall man's height from the floor. A curving flight of broad, low steps led up to it, and now it came to my steadying brain that there was something puzzling, peculiar, strangely unfamiliar about this light. It was silvery, shaded faintly with a delicate blue, and flushed lightly with a narcissus rose, but a rose that differed from that of the terraces of the pool chamber, as the rose within the opal differs from that within the pearl. In it were tiny, gleaming points like the motes in a sunbeam, but sparkling white like the dust of diamonds, and with a quality of vibrant vitality. They were as though they were alive. The light cast no shadows. A little breeze came through the oval and played about us. It was laden with what seemed the mingled breath of spice flowers and pines. It was curiously vivifying, and in it the diamond atoms of light shook and danced. I stepped out of the car, the Russian following, and began to ascend the curved steps towards the opening, at the top of which O'Keefe and Olaf already stood. As they looked out, I saw both their faces change. Olaf with awe, O'Keefe's with incredulous amaze. I hurried to their side. At first, all that I could see was space, a space filled with the same coruscating effluence that pulsed about me. I glanced upward, obeying the instinctive impulse of Earth folk that bids them seek within the sky for sources of light. There was no sky, at least no sky such as we know. All was a sparkling nebulosity, rising into infinite distances as the azure above the day world seems to fill all the heavens. Through it ran pulsating waves and flashing javelin rays that were like shining shadows of the aurora, echoes octaves lower of those brilliant appre- uh, arpe- mm, 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 arpeggios and chords that play about the poles. My eyes fell beneath its splendor. I stared outward. Miles away, gigantic luminous cliffs sprang sheer from the limits of a lake, whose waters were of milky opulence. It was from these cliffs that the spangled radiance came, shimmering out from all their lustrous surfaces. To left and to right, as far as the eye could see, they stretched, and they vanished in the auroral nebulosity on high. I'm gonna take another drink before I talk. Look at that! Exclaimed Larry. I followed his pointing finger. On the face of the shining wall, stretched between two colossal columns, hung an incredible veil, prismatic, gleaming with all the colors of the spectrum. It was like a web of rainbows woven by the fingers of the daughters of the Jinn. Where am I? I just lost where I was. Oh, there it is. It was like a web of rainbows woven by the fingers of the daughters of the Jinn. In front of it and a little at each side was a semicircular pier, or better, a plaza of what appeared to be glistening pale yellow ivory. At each end of its half circle clustered a few low-walled rose stone structures, each of them surmounted by a number of high, slender pinnacles. We looked at each other, I think a bit helplessly, and back again through the opening. We were standing, as I have said, at its base. The wall in which it was set was at least 10 feet thick, and so of course all that we could see of that which was without were the distances that revealed themselves above the outer ledge of the oval. "Let's take a look at what's under us," said Larry. He crept upon the ledge and peered down, the rest of us following. 100 yards beneath us stretched gardens that must have been like those of many-columned Aram, which the ancient Adit king had built for his pleasure ages before the deluge, and which Allah, so the Arab legend tells, took and hid from man within the Sahara, beyond all hope of finding, jealous because they were more beautiful than his in paradise. I don't know if that's actually in any sort of story, my dear scholars. Within them flowers and groves of laced fern-like trees, pillared pavilions nestled. This author likes to use a lot from Arabic tales and Arabic belief and Arabic mythos. I'm not sure why, especially since this is set in Southeast Asia. It's I'm starting to notice it. The trunks of the trees were of emerald, of vermilion, and of azure blue, and the blossoms, whose fragrance were borne to us, shone like jewels. The graceful pillars were tinted delicately. I noted that the pavilions were double, in a way two-storied, and that they were oddly splotched with circles, with squares, and with oblongs of opacity. Noted too that over many this opacity stretched like a roof, yet it did not seem material, rather was it impenetrable shadow. Down through the city of gardens ran a broad, shining green thoroughfare, glistening like glass, and spanned at regular intervals with graceful arched bridges. The road flashed to a wide square where rose from a base of that same silvery stone that formed the lip of the moon pool titanic strug, uh, a titanic structure of 7 terraces. Darth, you almost messed that word up. I heard it. I did. I know. And along it flitted objects that bore a curious resemblance to the shell of the Nautilus. Within them were human figures, and upon tree bordered promenades on each side walked others. Far to the right we caught the glint of another emerald paved road, and between the two the gardens grew sweetly down to the hither side of that obsolete water, upon which was the radiant cliffs and the curtain of mystery. Thus it was that we first saw the city of the dweller, blessed and accursed as no place on earth or under or above earth has ever been, or that force willing which some call God, ever again shall be. Truth, whispered Markirov. Incredible. Trodom, gasped Olaf Holgersen. It is Trodom. Listen, Olaf, said Larry. Cut out that trolldom stuff. There's no trolldom or fairies outside Ireland. Get that? And this isn't Ireland. And buck up, Professor. This to Markinov. What you see down there are people. Just plain people. And where there's and whenever there's people is where I live. Get me? There's no way in but in, and no way out but out, said O'Keefe. And there's the stairway. Eggs are eggs no matter how they're cooked, and people are just people, fellow travelers no matter what dish they are in, he concluded. Come on! With the three of us close behind him, he marched towards the entrance. I am going to read one more chapter, my dear scholars, and then I'm probably going to call it a night because I can feel my voice. Yeah. Darth, Darth. What up, Professor? My brain didn't hear the word. Huh? I don't see what word. Oh dear. I don't know, Darth. I have to get a lot of water in me for this. Excuse me. Chapter 13. Yolara, Priestess of the Shining One. You'd better have this handy. You better have this handy, Doc. O'Keefe paused at the head of the stairway and handed me one of the automatics he had taken from Markanov. Shall I not have one? Shall I not have one? Shall I not have one also? Rather anxiously asked the latter. When you need it, you'll get it, answered O'Keefe. I'll tell you frankly, though, Professor, that you'll have to show me before I trust you with a gun. You shoot too straight from cover. The flash of anger in the Russian's eyes turned to cold consideration. You say always just what is in your mind, Lieutenant O'Keefe, he mused. Da, that I shall remember. Later I was to recall this odd observation, and Markinov was to remember indeed. In single file, O'Keefe at the head and Olaf bringing up the rear, we passed through the portal. Before us dropped a singular. Oh, hello there, reload clips. Welcome. A terrifying presence has entered the room. Welcome. Glad to have you here. Hello there. Just have a seat. We're reading the final chapter for the night of The Moon Pool. We're not finishing the book tonight, but we are reading the last chapter for tonight's stream. So have a seat. Enjoy. Where was I? Oh, yes. Before us dropped a circular shaft, into which the light from the chamber of the oval streamed liquidly. Oh, hello there, Kinshon. Welcome. I showed up right when someone posted terrifying presence entered the room. Oh, hello there, Kinshon. Welcome. Well, with your puns, sometimes you can be a little terrifying. Darth, up a terrifying presence has been here this whole time. The stairway end into which the light from the chamber of the oval streamed liquidly. Set in its sides, the steps spiral, and down them we went cautiously. The stairway ended in a circular wall, silent, with no trace of exit. The rounded stones joined each other evenly, hermetically. Carved on one of the slabs was one of the 5 flowered vines. I pressed my fingers upon the calyx, even as Larry had within the moon chamber. A crack, horizontal, 4 feet wide, appeared on the wall, widened, and as the sinking slab that made it dropped to the level of our eyes, we looked through 100 feet long rift in the living rock. The stone fell steadily, and we saw that was a cyclopean wedge set within the slit of the passageway. It reached the level of our feet and stopped. At the far end of this tunnel, whose floors were as the polished rock that had, a moment before, fitted hermetically into its roof, was a low, narrow, triangular opening through which light streamed. Nowhere to go but out, grinned Larry. And I'll bet Golden Eyes is waiting for us with a taxi. He stepped forward. We followed, slipping, sliding along the glassy surface, and I, for one, had a lively apprehension of what our fate would be should that enormous mass rise before we had emerged. We reached the end, crept out of the narrow triangle that was its exit. We stood upon a wide ledge, carpeted with thick yellow moss. I looked behind, and clutched O'Keefe's arm. The door through which we had come had vanished. There was only a precipice of pale rock on whose surfaces great patches of the amber moss hung, around whose base our ledge ran, and whose summits, if summits it had, were hidden, like the luminous cliffs in the radiance above us. Nowhere to go but ahead, and Golden Eyes hasn't kept her date, laughed old O'Keefe, but somewhat grimly. Where am I? Yeah. We walked a few yards beyond along the ledge, and rounding a corner, faced the end of one of the slender bridges. From the vantage point, the oddly shaped vehicles were plain, and we could see they were indeed like the shell of the Nautilus, and elfinly beautiful. Their drivers sat high upon the forward hull. Their bodies were piled high with cushions, upon which they lay women half swathed in gay silken webs. Upon which lay women half swathed in gay silken webs. From the pavilioned gardens, smaller channels of glistening green ran into the Broadway, much as automobile runways do on Earth, and in and out of them flashed the fairy shells. Then came a shout from one. Its occupants had glimpsed us. They pointed, others stopped and stared. One shell turned and sped up a runway, and quickly over the other side of the bridge came a score of men. They were dwarfed, none of them more than 5 feet high, prodigiously broad of shouldered, clearly enormously powerful. Trolde! Trolde! Muttered Olaf, stepping beside O'Keefe, pistol swinging free in his hand. But at the middle of the bridge, the leader stopped, waved back to his men, and came towards us alone, palms outstretched in the immemorable universal gesture of truce. He paused, scanning us with manifest wonder. We returned the scrutiny with interest. The man's face was as white as Olaf's, far whiter than those of the other three of us. The features clean cut and noble, almost classical. The wide set eyes of a curious greenish gray, and the black hair curling over his head like that on some old Greek statue. Dwarf though he was, there was no suggestion of deformity about him. The gigantic shoulders were covered with a loose green tunic that looked like fine linen. It was caught in at the waist by a broad girdle studded with what seemed to be amazonites. In it was thrust a long, curved poniard resembling the Malaysian kris. His legs were swathed in the same green cloth as the upper garment. His feet were sandaled. His My gaze returned to his face, and in it I found something subtly disturbing, an expression of half malicious gaiety that underlay the whole prepossessing features, like a vague threat, a mocking deviltry which hinted at entire callousness to suffering or sorrow, something in the spirit that was vaguely alien and disquieting. Again, how can you tell someone by the way they look, really? He spoke, and to my surprise, enough of the words were familiar to enable me clearly to catch the meaning of the whole. They were Polynesian, the Polynesian of the Samoans, which is its most ancient form, but in some indefinable way archaic. Later, I was to know that the tongue bore the same relation to the Polynesian of today as does not that of Chaucer, but of the venerable Bede to modern English. Nor was this to be so astonishing, when with the knowledge came the certainty that it was from it the language we call Polynesian sprang. The venerable Bede, by the way, is a medieval historian, very famous, and of course Chaucer wrote the Canterbury Tales, and he was one of the first authors to write in what we would call Middle English. Not Old English, but Middle English. Excuse me. From whence do you come, strangers? And how found your way here? Said the green man. I waved my hand toward the cliff behind us. His eyes narrowed incredulously. He glanced at its drop, upon which even a mountain goat could not have made its way, and laughed. We came through the rock, I answered his thought. And we come in peace, I added. And may peace walk with you, he said half derisively, if the Shining One wills it. He considered us again. Show me, strangers, where you came through the rock, he commanded. We led the way to where we had emerged from the well of the stairway. It was here, I said, tapping the cliff. But I see no opening, he said suavely. It closes behind us, I answered, and then for the first time realized how incredible the explanation sounded. The derisive gleam passed through his eyes again, but he drew his poniard and gravely sounded the rock. You give a strange turn to our speech, he said. It sounds strangely indeed, as strange as your answers. He looked at us quizzically. I wonder where you learned it. Well, all that you can explain to the Afyo-Mie. His head bowed and his arms swept out in a wide salaam. Be pleased to come with me, he ended abruptly. Darth, I didn't know you could walk through Dwayne Johnson. Oh, Ron Rock, yes. In peace, I asked. In peace, he replied, then slowly, with me at least. Oh, come on, Doc, cried Larry. As long as we're here, let's see the sights. Allons, mon vieux, he called gaily to the green man. The latter, understanding the spirit, if not the words, looked at O'Keefe with a twinkle of approval, turned then to the great Norseman and scanned him with admiration, reached out and squeezed one of the immense biceps. Oh my goodness gracious. Lugo, Lugo will welcome you at least, he murmured as though to himself. He stood aside and waved a hand courteously, inviting us to pass. We crossed. At the base of the span of one of the elven shells was waiting. Beyond, scores had gathered, their occupants evidently discussing us in much excitement. The green man waved us to the piles of cushions and then threw himself beside us. The vehicle started off smoothly, the now silent throng making way, and swept down the green roadway at a terrific pace, and wholly without vibration, toward the seven terrace towers. As we flew along, I tried to discover the source of the power, but could not. Then. There was no sign of mechanism, but that the shell responded to some form of energy was certain, the driver grasping a small lever which seemed to control not only our speed, but our direction. We turned abruptly and swept up a runway through one of the gardens, and stopped softly before a pillared pavilion. I saw now that these were much larger than I had thought. The structure to which we had been carried covered, I estimated, fully an acre. Oblong, with its slender, vari-colored columns spaced regularly. Its walls were like the sliding screens of the Japanese, shoji. The green man hurried us up a flight of broad steps, flanked by great carved serpents, winged and scaled. He stamped twice upon mosaic stones between two of the pillars, and a screen rolled aside, revealing an immense hall scattered about with low divans, on which lolled a dozen or more of the dwarfish men, dressed identically as he. They sauntered up to us leisurely, the surprised interest in their faces tempered by the same inhumanely gay malice that seemed to be characteristic of all these people we had as yet seen. Excuse me. The Afio awaits them, Raidor, said one. The green man nodded, beckoned us, and led the way through the great hall and into a smaller chamber, whose far side was covered with opacity I had noted from the array of the cliff. I examined the blackness with lively interest. It had neither substance nor texture. It was not matter, and yet it suggested solidity, an entire cessation, a complete absorption of light, an ebon veil at once immaterial and palpable. I stretched, involuntarily, my hand toward it, and felt it quickly drawn back. Darth, gay malice, what a combo of words. I know, gay meant something else back then. It did. Yes, it did back then. It wasn't yet used in the other term yet. That would more happen towards around the late 20s, 30s. I am not an expert in that, unfortunately. Do you seek your end so soon? Whispered Radar. But I forget. You do not know. He added, on your life touch not the blackness ever. He stopped, for abruptly in the density a portal appeared, swinging out of the shadow like a picture thrown by a lantern upon a screen. Through it was revealed a chamber filled with a soft rosy glow. Rising from cushioned couches, a woman and a man regarded us, half leaning over a long, low table of what seemed polished jet, laden with flowers and unfamiliar fruits. About the room, that part of it at least, that I could see, were a few oddly shaped chairs of the same substance. On high silvery tripods, three immense globes stood, and it was from them that the rose glow emanated. At the side of the woman was a smaller globe, whose roseate gleam was tempered by quavering waves of blue. Enter Radar, with the strangers, a clear, sweet voice called. Radar bowed deeply and stood aside, motioning us to pass. We entered, the green man behind us, and out of the corner of the eye of my eye I saw the doorway fade as abruptly as it had appeared, and again the dense shadow filled its place. Come closer, strangers. Be not afraid, commanded the bell-toned voice. We approached. The woman, somber scientist that I am, made the breath catch in my throat. Never had I seen a woman as so beautiful as was Yolara of the Dweller's City, and none of so perilous a beauty. Her hair was of the color of the young tassels of the corn, and coiled in a regal crown above her broad white brows. Her wide eyes were of gray that could change to a cornflower blue, and in anger deep into purple, gray or blue, deep into purple. Gray or blue, they had little laughing devils within them. But when the storm of anger darkened, but hold on. Darth. Gay began to mean the other thing in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. However, it started as an underground subculture code word and did not become mainstream until the 1960s and 1970s. Thank you for the lesson there, Darth. Thank you. But when the storm of anger darkened them, they were not laughing, no. The silken webs that half covered, half revealed her did not hide the ivory whiteness of her flesh, nor the sweet curve of shoulders and breasts. But for all her amazing beauty, she was sinister. There was cruelty about the carving mouth, and in the music of her voice. Not conscious cruelty, but the more terrifying, careless cruelty of nature itself. The girl of the Rosewell had the girl of the Rosewall had been beautiful, yes, but her beauty was human, understandable. You could imagine her with a babe in her arms, but you could not so imagine this woman. About her loveliness hovered something unearthly. A sweet, feminine echo of the Dweller was Yolara, the Dweller's priestess, and as gloriously, terrifyingly evil. And we'll stop there, my dear scholars. Ooh, our dear, uh, our dear heroes seem to have gotten themselves into some trouble, and the tone of the story has kind of changed too, hasn't it? I had heard before I had chosen the story that it starts off very much in a Lovecraftian fashion and then becomes more a lost civilization fashion. Darth, I just used Google and edited what Google said. Julian, it's a fine. Julian 20, great story though. It is good. It is very good. I am enjoying it. Um, so, so then, next week. Next week, if everything goes according to plan, I am still debating if I will do more of Horizon or I will take a short break from it and do another game. I haven't decided yet. Um, but if everything goes according to plan, there will be a gaming stream on Monday, and then on Thursday, again, if everything goes according to plan, we'll be reading more of the Moon Pool. Darth, I'm enjoying the story also. It pulls into my brain quite nicely. Julian 20, don't encourage him. Don't. You know what happens if you encourage a Darth. It it's like Kintron and Darth are like that children's book, If You Give a Mouse a Muffin. If you encourage Kintron and Darth, they're just gonna do it more and more, you know? Okay, so let's see who we can raid tonight before we end. Union 20, but they are so quaint. They are not quaint. Darth had to sneak in one more before stream ended. Of course you did. Of course you did. Okay, let's see. We can raid. Um, Question is, do we want to raid a reader? Because there's only one reader on right now. Yeah. Okay. I don't think there's any other. Because I don't think there's any other readers. Um, let's read a gaming streamer tonight. Let's raid Cider Martin. Now they're doing another Crab's Treasure. It might be fun. So then, my dear scholars, I say unto you, good evening, good morning, good afternoon. Till we meet each other again in the study. Take care, and I shall see you next time. Till then, farewell and bye bye.